Now, the World Football governing body FIFA has announced the 2022 World Cup tournament in Qatar will not be expanded to 48 teams. Usually 32 teams take part, but in 2017, FIFA decided to include more teams in the competition. Last year, the organization's president, Gianni Infantino, said the change could go into effect in 2022, but those plans have now been scrapped. Qatar's been under an air, sea and land blockade by Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain and Egypt since June of 2017. FIFA released a statement saying Qatar had always been open to the idea of an expanded tournament in 22, but after joint analysis, both parties have concluded that due to the advanced stage of preparations and the need for a detailed assessment of the potential logistical impact on Qatar, more time would be required, and a decision couldn't be taken before the deadline of June. It was therefore decided not to further pursue this option. James Dorsey is a Middle East expert with the Rajaratnam School of International Studies in Singapore. He says FIFA's decision was a foregone conclusion.
I think that we have had months or weeks of basically discussing hot air and something that was, in my mind, delusionary. With other words, Qatar was willing to play this out. It certainly became clear after Kuwait and Oman said that they would not be able to accommodate FIFA in an expanded World Cup. And the idea that Infantino was putting forward, that an agreement to share the World Cup with Saudi Arabia and the UAE would put an end to the Gulf crisis, was basically pie in the sky. Qatar, since 2010, has been preparing for a 32-team World Cup, and to expand that by basically half of it, so going from 32 to 48, would have been an enormous task in the last stretch towards the World Cup. And I think that Qatar may have been willing to share with Oman and Kuwait. Keep in mind that Oman's been very helpful to Qatar during this whole Gulf crisis in the last 2 years, and Kuwait is the mediator. But there was no way that it could be shared with Saudi Arabia and the UAE as long as the boycott was in place. And the boycott is about much more than the World Cup.